Hi guys, Cheshire here. Welcome to this new module in Office 365 training. This module is about Azure Active Directory and the migration of Office 365 services. So Sam has been set up on Office 365, and though he likes the platform a lot, he's loving Office 365 and all the services, but he has got two issues. Now all the users in his organization are maintaining two set of credentials. So they have their local Active Directory, their PCs are joined to the local Active Directory, and to log into their computer, they have a separate credential. And they have signed up to Office 365 now. So in Office 365, you have created brand new user accounts for them, and they are using a separate Active Directory credentials to log into these accounts. So this is one of the problem for him. The second problem is that the emails which was on his Exchange server, they have not been migrated. In fact, he used to use Yahoo emails before that, and even those old emails are also still lying on Yahoo mailbox server. And in Office 365, what you gave him was blank mailboxes. There was no user old data or old emails. He's not very happy about that. Further, it was also promised that his file servers will be migrated to SharePoint Online. So that has also not happened, and he has created some SharePoint team sites and SharePoint teams, and they are using some kind of data in the cloud, but their old data is still lying on their file servers. So these are kind of the issues which Sam is not happy about. So now in this module, what we are going to do is we are going to understand what is Azure Active Directory. Then we are going to talk about a component which is called as directory synchronization of Azure Active Directory. Then we are going to talk about email migration, and then we are going to talk about SharePoint migration. Now, once again, whatever components are included in this module, they are pretty advanced components of Office 365. And as an entry-level engineer towards Office 365, you need not to understand 100% how to set up these components. But I am telling you all these components so that you have a clear understanding of what these components are. I would not stop you from going ahead and implementing all these components, doing the migrations, etc. yourself, and you can do it. They are not very difficult, but it's just that it's not within the scope of this training to explain you and make you understand. In fact, it becomes really big, and the training will become very extensive if we start going into the depth of the migration processes. So we are not going to do that here, but I'm just going to give you a basic overview of what these three components are, what is their role, and how they help you. Okay, so what is Azure Active Directory? Azure Active Directory is Microsoft cloud-based identity and access management service, which help your employee to sign in and access resources in cloud. Internal resources such as apps on your corporate network and intranet, along with any cloud apps developed by your organization. So this is basically a definition which I got from Microsoft. Now, to give you a better explanation, this is something which I wrote myself. So Azure Active Directory is Microsoft cloud-based Active Directory. Quite honestly, it is altogether different in its functioning and structure than an on-premise Active Directory. The only thing common between on-premise Active Directory and Azure Active Directory is that both of them are identity provider. Now, we usually consider both of them alike because both of them let you create user accounts there, and both of them let you authenticate applications against them so that the users can log into the application. So both are identity provider, we know that. But the way an on-premise Active Directory is functioning and how Azure Active Directory is functioning, this is altogether different. In fact, there are a lot of legacy applications which are authenticating currently against, in a lot of environments I'm talking about, the on-premise Active Directory, and people want to migrate them to Azure Active Directory for authentication, but it is not possible because they are based on the protocols like LDAP and Kerberos, whereas Azure Active Directory doesn't support LDAP and Kerberos. So Azure Active Directory is different. But for your understanding at the moment, it's quite enough to understand or state that Azure Active Directory is a cloud version of on-premise Active Directory. Because to understand the differences between them, you really have to go deep in the on-premise Active Directory and cloud Active Directory, and then think about the different protocols which they are using, which I don't want you to do right at the moment. However, if you say that Azure Active Directory is a cloud version of on-premise Active Directory, then that statement is technically incorrect. However, that's more helpful from the understanding point of view. Now, you can refer to this link below, which I have provided here. And if you go to this link there is a small video on this link. This is a Microsoft link. And in that video, Microsoft has tried to explain the difference between Azure Active Directory and the on-premise Active Directory. So it will give you some understanding of the differences between them. You're most welcome to watch it. But from your current level and the expectation where you are as of now, I would say that this is not something you should bother yourself much with, so you can just ignore it for now. Now we are going to talk about the next component, which is Azure Active Directory synchronization. As of now, Contoso, which is Sam's company, is maintaining two identities. They have a domain controller on-premise where all the users are created, and their PCs, the machines which they have in their office, they are joined to this domain. And all the users, when they come to the office in the morning, they log in with the credentials which are maintained on this domain controller. And now they have signed up for Office 365 services where they have Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, and the other services. And now this Office 365 is using identity from Azure Active Directory. There is no relationship between these two Active Directories. And these are separate set of credentials. So user as of now are maintaining two separate set of credentials. And this is a problem because once the password of the on-premise user will get expired, then the Office 365 user password will get expired, then the user will reset some password to something and some password to other. Basically, he has to maintain multiple passwords, which is a problem. So Sam has discussed the problem with their IT service provider, and the IT service provider suggested him two solutions for the problem. One is an ADFS server, and the second solution is directory synchronization with password synchronization. So let me just draw up those solutions for you, and then you can understand that what exactly I am talking about here. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to just pull up MS Paint here. I'm going to maximize my screen. So as of now, what's happening is that this is Sam's office, and they have a domain controller here, and they have got PC here, and all of them are authenticating to this DC. This is the domain controller, and now they signed up for the cloud, which is Office 365. So Office 365 is running Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, etc. here. So this is 365. And it is using something which is called as Azure AD for its credentials. I have written AAD. So this is Azure Active Directory, this is Office 365. So right now they have a relationship between them, and Office 365 is using Azure Active Directory. Users log into their computer, they authenticate to this DC, but when they have to access their email services, they go and open the browser to this Office 365 URL, and then they authenticate using the credentials which is present in their Azure Active Directory, and there is no relationship between them. So users are maintaining two set of credentials. This is the problem. Now the solution which has been provided is, number one, that you can create an ADFS server, Active Directory Federation server here, and then instead of the authentication going to Azure Active Directory, we can redirect the authentication to ADFS server, and in turn ADFS server will authenticate with your domain controller. So in this case, what is going to happen when the user is going to open the browser here, or if they configure their Outlook client here to access emails from here, instead of going to Azure Active Directory, the authentication request will come to your ADFS server, which you can install in your own office just next to your domain controller, and then ADFS server can authenticate with your domain controller. This is a good option, but the problem with this option is if your Office internet connectivity goes down, your Office 365 will stop working because you will not be able to, this link will get broken and then you will not be able to authenticate an Office 365. If this ADFS server, which is a single ADFS server, if something happens to this single ADFS server, you will not be able to log into Office 365 services. Or if something happens to your domain controller, once again, you will not be able to log into your Office 365 services. So the overall benefit of cloud, which was to be available all the time and the high availability without the cost of maintaining high availability, you kind of kill that option with this. But a lot of organizations have used it, and what they do is that they create multiple ADFS server here. So we call it as a ADFS server farm. ADFS stands for Active Directory Federation Services. Once again, it's a deeper topic. I'm not going to explain here and you need not to understand it, but I'm giving you a overall understanding or overview of how the things works out. So this is Active Directory Federation Services. So they'll create multiple ADFS server, and those both ADFS server will go back to this, and this internet service provider or the internet connection will also send request to both of them. So they have kind of a high availability. But overall, this is a very poor solution, because let's say that even if you put two ADFS server and even if you have multiple domain controllers here, what about your internet service provider? Fine, you will have two internet service provider. Then what about the firewall or the router in which both the internet service provider are getting plugged in? So you have to put in multiple firewalls and the entry gate, and you have to configure something which is called as BGP, some route switching protocol, and don't go into the details of what I'm saying here, but there is a route switching protocol. Basically, once again, for high availability, you will be putting two routers here. So it's a pointless exercise. You can keep doing two routers, two IP link, two ADFS server, multiple domain controllers, and you can keep spending money. But this is a very poor solution. I know a lot of organizations use it because of their own security and adherence and compliance reasons, even today. However, not a lot of organizations are using it now, and they are moving to the other solution, which I'm going to discuss now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do Control Z to remove everything that I created in form of an ADFS server. Okay, so we are back to the situation where the Office 365 is here and it is getting authenticated to Azure Active Directory here. This is a perfectly highly available scenario. The Office 365 and Azure Active Directory has nothing to do with your office. Even if your whole office is burnt and there is no internet connectivity or router or firewall, still if somebody tries to open Office 365, it will work perfectly fine. Alright, so this is a good option, but the problem is, again, the users have to maintain two sets of credentials. The next solution which is available is something which is called as Active Directory Connect server, or basically the process of directory synchronization. Earlier we used to call it directory synchronization server, now it is called as AAD Connect server. So what does a AAD Connect server do? You install a server on premise and you install a software called as AAD Azure Active Directory Connect on it. So you install the AAD Connect software on it. Now what this does is, it goes to Azure Active Directory and it goes to your Active Directory. It picks up the information here from here and it replicates the information here. So it replicates all the user accounts from your local Active Directory to Azure Active Directory, and then whatever is the password of these user accounts here, it also replicates that to Azure Active Directory. If you disable a user account here, that will get disabled in Azure Active Directory. If you delete a user account here, it will get deleted in Azure Active Directory. So this is a perfect solution. If this server goes down, then maybe the replication is not going to happen. So if a user changes his password here and if the server goes down, then it will not get replicated here. But the other 100 users or 500 users or thousands of users which are in the organization who have not changed their password, they will continue to work. Now, even if this whole thing gets like burnt out and your office is burnt, your domain controller is burnt, etc., nothing is going to break here, because whatever was the last information which was replicated to Azure Active Directory, Azure Active Directory will keep using that information. So this is called as AAD Connect. or Azure Active Directory Connect, and this is the option which most of the organizations are using nowadays. So ADFS server is an old age solution where you switch over the authentication of your Office 365 to your on-premise Active Directory via an ADFS server. The problem with this is that there are multiple single point of failure in this solution, and even if one of them is not working correctly, your authentication can stop and your whole high availability which is being offered by Office 365 can go for a toss. The good option which is available today is AAD Connect or Directory Synchronization Server, which replicates your password as well as your user accounts to Office 365 Azure Active Directory, and you can use the same user account and password which you have in your local Active Directory to log in. Now you need to understand that in this solution, the user account maintained here and user account maintained here are two separate accounts. But because there is a replication going on, so this account is different and this account is different, but this replication keeps their password same and their login name same. So as far as the user is concerned, for that user it is the same account. So there could be a account here shishir@rootdomain.com and there will be a same account here shishir@rootdomain.com. Easy peasy. As far as the user is concerned, he's only going to put the username as shishir@rootdomain.com and the same password. We are replicating that. But technically, these are two separate ADs and two separate user accounts. It doesn't matter to the end user because the problem is getting solved. So now this is what an AD Connect server is. Azure Active Directory Connect is a tool for connecting on-premise identity infrastructure to Microsoft Azure Active Directory. On-premise identity infrastructure means your domain controller to the Azure Active Directory. The wizard deploys and configures prerequisites and components required for the connection, including synchronization and sign-on. Azure AD Connect encompasses functionality of a previously released tool called as Directory Synchronization or AAD Sync. So earlier it used to be called as AAD Synchronization tool. So now I will quickly show you how to get started for configuring Azure Active Directory Connect. It's a longer process, so I'll not show you the step-by-step procedure, but basically you go here in Azure Active Directory admin panel, and this will open the Azure Active Directory admin panel for you. You click here and then you go to Azure AD Connect, and here is the software which you have to download and install and on an on-premise Active Directory server. Actually not on the Active Directory server, you have to set up another member server in the domain. So what you can do is that if you are running Azure Virtual Machine as your domain controller, you can set up another Windows 2012 or 2016 or 2019 server and you can join it to the domain. Don't install any Active Directory on it. Then download this Azure AD Connect tool on that server and install this. And then just follow the prompts and maybe you can look at some of the YouTube videos, etc., which are available, and then you can set up your Azure Active Directory Connect. Once it is synchronized, look here, password hash sync. So once you will synchronize, it will show you the last sync time when it was synchronized, and then it will also show you the password hash sync time, so that the passwords for the user gets replicated. So this is how you set up Azure Active Directory Connect, right? Okay, now we are going to talk about the migration to Office 365. We did the setup of Office 365 for Sam, but we never thought about the existing emails which were present on his on-premise Exchange server. The local Exchange server had 5 years worth of email data on it. With our sign up, all the users got was blank mailboxes. This is not an ideal scenario. The companies, when migrated to Office 365, expect all their email data, contacts and calendars to also be migrated to Office 365. So when we used to do migration, or when we do migrations even today, we do the whole synchronization of data for users, and all their contacts, emails, calendars, everything gets synchronized to Office 365. And quite honestly, if we plan to do a switchover from on-premise services to cloud services over a weekend, so Friday the user will go, and Monday when the user comes back and he opens his Outlook, he would not even realize that we have switched over to Office 365. You would say, what's the good in that if the user don't even see the benefit of it? Well, the benefit is more to the administrative point of view, because as far as a user is concerned, he gets the same Outlook, he gets the same emails, and everything works fine for him, even in on-premise service. But the problem with on-premise service is that you as an admin have to maintain those servers and do a backup of those servers, and you have to do a lot of hard work on those servers. From the admin point of view, when you go to Office 365, you basically can relax a lot more. The migration has to happen. Microsoft offers various free tools to migrate your email data to Exchange Online from variety of sources like Exchange Server or other IMAP and POP sources. So I think in the introduction of this module, I mentioned that there are some Yahoo emails which are also pending on Yahoo server. So we also want to migrate those emails. So you can do migration from Exchange servers, you can do migration from other IMAP servers like Gmail or Yahoo, or even if you have some old POP servers, then you can do a migration. There are other various non-Microsoft companies like MigrationWays, Skycake, Quest, etc., who also offer the solution to do the email migration. So now technically how the mail migration happens is, once again I will open this MS Paint. So what has happened is that this is your Office 365 cloud, and this is your Exchange Online server, and you have got the users mailboxes here which are blank. Okay, and this is your on-premise Exchange server, and there are user mailboxes with data here. So remember, we explained a technology to you which is called as Outlook Anywhere. So this is the public router, and this is the public IP, and this is the LAN cable which is connected to this. So when the user is at his home and he opens his laptop, the Outlook get connected. How? It goes from your public router of the user. It looks up for the record autodiscover dot domain name.com, which is like autodiscover.rootdomain.com or contourserbusiness.com, whatever the name is. So the DNS will resolve that address to this public IP of the Office Exchange server, and then you get connected here, and then you basically get the email. Using the same method, what we do is we set up a migration from here, and technically this migration tool goes ahead and connect Outlook Anywhere here and picks up the data from user mailboxes and transfer it to the user mailboxes here. So this is like setting up your Outlook profile. Whenever you set up your Outlook profile, whatever emails are available in your mailbox, they get downloaded. Similarly, in this method, what's happening, you set up Outlook Anywhere connection from here, basically migration connection. It connects to your Exchange server and downloads all the email. And hence it is very important if you are doing an Exchange migration from an on-premise Exchange server or any other Exchange server, then the Outlook Anywhere has to be enabled on the Exchange server. Without an Outlook Anywhere being enabled, or without the routing and the port forwarding and the DNS configuration being correct, this migration will not work. So I'll quickly show you how the migration happens. So you basically go to your Exchange Admin Center. I had the Exchange Admin Center open there, but I closed it and I just wanted to reopen for you. And you go under recipients. Actually, migration is already showing here, but so you go to migration and see, they are already saying that we offer a new migration if you're coming from Google, because Microsoft wants to take away all the customers from Google. So they are giving you special migration tools to migrate from Google. But otherwise, you have an option here to migrate to Exchange Online. And then it gives you various options like remote move migration, stage migration, cutover migration, IMAP migration, and G Suite migration. So you can choose which option you want to use for migration, and then just follow the wizard. And yeah, as long as your settings are correct, your migration batch will get configured, and then it will migrate the data of all the user accounts in one go. So it's not that it is going to copy. So like I said, that one mailbox will get copied, but technically a connection request for all of them will get here, and everything will get migrated to the cloud. So that's how an Office 365 migration from within the tool works. So you can just follow the procedure here. And once again, you can look at some videos and tools to see how to do the migration. And once again, Office 365 migration is a far beyond concept for an entry-level engineer. But yeah, I welcome you to study more if you want to become expert. And yeah, you can look at some videos and do the migrations. That will be amazing for you. I also wanted to show you that there are other tools available like Quest, Office 365 migration. So there is a tool from Quest available. There is a cool tool from Code2 available. There is a tool from BitTitan, MigrationWiz. MigrationWiz is a Office 365 migration tool. They gives a lot of options, so you can use them. So quite honestly speaking, we have done a lot of our migrations using the native tool of Office 365 because this is entirely free and it is getting better and better. However, all these companies, MigrationWiz, etc., they give you a little bit extra convenience in setting up the migration process, etc. But then the money which you have to pay for them is like $10-15 per user account for the migration. I would say that if you have 500 users paying $5,000 to them for migration, instead you can do the migration from the native tools. So where possible, do it with native tools, and unless you have to do it from tools like these, then yeah, use MigrationWiz. We particularly use MigrationWiz because IMAP do not support the synchronization of contacts and calendar. So if we are bringing a user from Gmail and we need to bring the contacts and calendars of the user as well to Office 365, then we use some of these tools to do the migration because they can do it, and the native tool initially was not able to do it. But now that they are saying that they have brought in a new wizard, I haven't done a G Suite migration for a while now, so I am pretty sure that with this new option which is available for Gmail, they will be able to bring the contacts and calendars to Office 365. So we might not have to spend money even in those cases. So that is your Exchange migration. Let's go back to the training. Skykick is also there, Quest is there. So you can look up, there are various service providers who do Office 365 migrations. So they give you a tool and you have to do the migration yourself. But yeah, the tools are available. Let's talk about the SharePoint migration. SharePoint migration. This was not a very popular option before. Earlier, we only used to do Office 365 migration and the context was only email migration. But now that Microsoft has made SharePoint highly usable and versatile, companies have started doing SharePoint migrations as well. Now, typically, there are two kinds of SharePoint migration. One SharePoint migration is where there are on-premise file servers and just the data of those file servers needs to be uploaded into SharePoint document libraries. So that's one migration option. The other migration option is where people have on-premise SharePoint 2010 or 2013 servers running and they have got their custom-made SharePoint websites on it and they want to migrate those custom-made websites to Office 365 SharePoint Online like a communication site. But even in this case, technically only data in the document libraries can get migrated to Office 365 because the custom solutions which they have built, the web parts and the development which their developers have done on the SharePoint 2010 site or SharePoint 2013 site, that cannot be migrated using any tool. Or even if you don't use a tool, you can't just pick up a solution from the on-premise SharePoint server and put it on the SharePoint Online server. The reason being that the solutions which you have built, they are built for SharePoint 2010 level or 2013 level, and what you have right now is SharePoint 2016 which is running in Office 365. So you can't bring in the same solution. Imagine you have Android version 3.0 running in on your phone, and now I get you a brand new phone with Android version 15.0. I don't know what versions of Androids are going on, but just to give an example here. So do you think that you can just copy all the applications from Android 3.0 and put it on the Android 10.0 or 15.0, the latest version? No, you cannot. The application needs to be rewritten, redeveloped for them to be compatible on the latest version of Android. Similarly, the web parts and the solutions which you have written for your on-premise SharePoint server, they need to be redeveloped to be compatible with the latest version of SharePoint 2016, which is running in the cloud. So you will need a developer assistance if you actually are trying to migrate a website like in the same look and feel which you have on premise and you want to migrate it to the cloud. Otherwise, even in these cases, what people end up doing is that they migrate the data from document libraries to Office 365 SharePoint Online document libraries. Now, there are various ways to do SharePoint migration. One option is manual operation. So, let's say that you have got some data in your My Documents and you want to put it in OneDrive. Easiest option is that you go to your computer, you go to your OneDrive folder and you copy the data from here or wherever it is, you copy the data from here and you paste the data here. I showed it to you before. This is the easiest migration option, and believe me, a lot of businesses still use this. This is a decent operation. So if you have a OneDrive synchronized, if you have your document library synchronized here like this, and you just want to copy the data, honestly speaking, if you just give the users some common sense and tell them that how they have to copy the data. If you create a document structure here and everything, users can copy the data like this. Or let's say you are on a file server. So on that file server itself, you can set up the OneDrive synchronization with an admin account, and then you can one by one copy over the documents folder to Office 365. So in most cases, the easiest option is that you can just copy over the data. But then in a lot of cases, it's not possible to do manual migration as well if you have a lot of data or if your data is actually in SharePoint document library. So you can't drag and drop that data into a folder structure. So if there are file servers and the data needs to be copied, I think this is a very valid option. But the problem is, like, if you have SharePoint document libraries and on-premise SharePoint server, then it is not possible to copy over the data like using the copy paste operation which I just showed you. So in those cases, another option which is available is that there are a lot of SharePoint migration tools, and the famous one which I have heard of is ShareGate. It is very famous. So you can use ShareGate migration tool and you can look at its videos and understand what all it does. But it basically does a lot of migration. So it can migrate file shares from file servers. It can migrate from SharePoint websites and can copy over all the data. So, but ultimately it's a data copy procedure. So that's options with outside Microsoft options, which third-party apps you can use. So there are a lot of other tools also. I'm sure the Synergy Online, maybe they also do it. There could be other tools as well. There used to be an excellent tool to do this migration. It was called as movers.io, I reckon. Yeah. The good thing is Microsoft has bought this tool. And as a result of this, now this tool is available to you free of cost. Look here, connector, what all migrations it can do. It can go to OneDrive, it can go to SharePoint, and it can migrate from file servers, it can migrate from Box, it can migrate from OneDrive. So basically you can start doing a lot of migration using this tool. What Microsoft has done, you can go to your SharePoint admin console, you go to migration and you go to migration manager, and yeah, download the agent setup file. Once again, this is a detailed procedure. You can follow the step-by-step process. You can look at some videos, and it's not difficult to do migrations, believe me. These tools are like really easy. Technology has become very easy. You can use these tools. SPMT is a good tool because what happens is, and I think I have spoke about this before as well, that SharePoint Online has limitations in terms of the number of characters in file name. Like it's not a limitation that you can't have a 10 alphabet file name in SharePoint, but that limitation is like 256 characters or something. So usually you don't have it, but sometimes people have crazy file names in on-premise servers, and they are mostly like old files which you don't even know of. So instead of starting a migration or copy preparation straight away, what you can do is that you can do an analysis of your data using SPMT, and it will point out all the anomalies in your data, and you can fix the data before you can do the actual migration. So yeah, these tools are available, and similarly I think in OneDrive Admin Center as well, you have got migration tools available, data migration. And yeah, just follow the procedure. This is the mover link. Just follow the procedure and copy over and migrate over your data. It's easy. So this is what Office 365 migration is about. So you can do OneDrive migration, you can do SharePoint migration. All right. There is also migrations of Teams server and Sky for Business server, but they are not very famous because Sky for Business and Teams server, they came like pretty recently. And before that, Office 365 had become very famous. So there are not a lot of companies who have to do those kind of migrations. So I would not go into details of those. SharePoint migration and Office 365 Exchange migration, I would recommend you to try it and do it because it looks really cool on your resume. If you can say that I can do SharePoint migrations. So here is what we covered in this module. We told you what is Azure Active Directory. I told you how different it is from the regular Active Directory. It's very easy to say that Azure Active Directory is the cloud version of Active Directory, but technically it is not, guys. But for now, like I said, that let's not get overwhelmed by that. Let's believe that it is the cloud version because ultimately you create users and you authenticate users. I told you the need of directory synchronization. I also explained you the ADFS scenario, the Active Directory Federation server, and then I told you the AAD Connect scenario. Setting up AAD Connect is very easy. You can synchronize, but you do have to understand and take care of some prerequisite options. So try to do it, but if you do it, then follow whatever article you are following step by step. Don't lose the track of the steps because otherwise you can create some kind of a confusion. But once again, you don't have to do it for your first job. Email migration, I told you how you can use third-party tools, how you can use Microsoft tools, how you can migrate from Gmail servers, or how you can migrate from other IMAP servers or POP servers. So I showed you all the options, and I even showed you tools like Skykick and MigrationWiz. I'm sorry, I didn't tell you show you the tools, but you can go to their website and have a look at it, and they will be happy to show you videos, etc. about those tools. Then I showed you SharePoint migration. I showed you how to do this SharePoint migration. Believe me, in a smaller company, copying over data to SharePoint is very easy. Just use the OneDrive client because it is an amazing client and you should be able to use it quite easily. So here are your action items for this week. Read more about Active Directory Connect and watch the videos about how to set it up, gain better understanding of it. So you need to understand the overall concept why AAD Connect is important and what is the benefit of AAD Connect. The benefit is the same identity is maintained. The users can use the same password and username which they use for their on-premise Active Directory. Even if they change the password in their on-premise Active Directory, it will get changed to Office 365. Understand more about Office 365 email migration. Watch the videos about the internal tool which I showed you how to use it, or look at the non-Microsoft tools like MigrationWiz or Skykick or other tools which are available. Explore more about SharePoint migration tools and options. So think more about it, how SharePoint migration happen. Have a look at ShareGate, have a look at movers.io. Maybe just go ahead and do a quick migration from your G Drive to Office 365 OneDrive, and yeah, you will really like it that you accomplished a migration. So that's it for this module, guys, and I will see you in the next module soon. Take care.